Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida. And tonight our question comes to us from Dina Hobbs. And Dina has this question: is psychokinesis real? And psychokinesis, which can also be called telekinesis, is the idea of moving physical objects in non-physical ways through what might be described as the powers of the soul or the powers of the mind, but definitely in non-physical ways. And you often see this in books and movies that deal with magic, and you see people who do all kinds of psychokinesis all over the place. They move things at will, and it's all very dramatic. But is this something that can happen in real life? That's another question. And my answer to that question is I would say yes, but not in the way that you encounter it in books and movies, at least not in my experience. I would say that I have experienced psychokinesis, but again, in a very different way. I have mostly experienced it not in relationship to people doing it, but in relationship to spirit guides, deities, fairies, etc. And most people, I think, in the metaphysical community, if they're here for any length of time and actually do much, will have experienced this at some level. And they variously have different explanations for it, but it comes down to physical things being moved in non-physical ways. And I've encountered things like pictures falling off a wall at a specific point in a conversation where it has relevance, showing up where they had not been placed, disappearing from where they were placed when no one was there to move them, other kinds of objects showing up where they should not be or disappearing from where they should be, and sometimes showing up right in that same place later. I have seen things like knocking at doors where nobody was or could have been, doors opening of their own accord or closing of their own accord at moments when it had meaning. So I've seen a number of fairly minor things like this which convince me that this is a possibility. But these have been things with spirit. What about things with people? Well, I've seen some people who seem to be able to display a certain level of psychokinesis as well. I have known a number of people who seem to be able to do this with electronic objects, things like televisions, computers, etc. And I've known people who seem to be able to turn on things like televisions and computers without ever touching them, or turn them off without ever touching them. And we're able to do this not in a consistent, but in a repeatable way, meaning that on certain days they could do it, on other days they couldn't. Which is to say that they did not have full mastery of it by any means, but they had enough mastery to be able to repeat it on the days that they were able to do it. These are the same kind of people who cannot wear a wristwatch because they tend to burn through it too quickly, have difficulty with phones for the same reason, and generally have a great deal of energy that is not necessarily easily grounded. This is also the same idea behind the idea of the poltergeist, which is that a person in a household has a great deal of ungrounded energy which causes things to move around, seemingly of their own accord, but in reaction to this person's energy, which is the same idea as psychokinesis. All of these are either unconscious or partially developed. I've not known anyone who can do this on command every time, or who can do particularly amazing things with it. I've seen things at this level. So, is it a thing? Again, I think it's something that mostly happens with people unintentionally, or is slightly developed, but I've never seen it highly developed. So does it exist? I would say yes. Does it exist in the way that you see in books and movies? I would say no. So that would be my answer. I hope you find it helpful, and until next time, may your blessed be. Please join me for our Correllian Peace Prayer. I pray for peace. I pray for love. I pray for stability. I pray for the nation where I live. I pray for the world.